high places and friends that I hide still manage to moonwalk straight through a minefield.
Yes, we concluded the last video with Donda, and we begin the next video with Certified Lover Boy. I just feel as if this is just one of the same projects that he's been releasing throughout his discography for years now. I mean, I wish I could just read all of the corny or questionable ass lines from this album, but at the same time, he does have some bangers on this album. Songs like Love All, 7 AM Unbridled Path, I Miss You Too, Race My Mind and Champagne Poetry, my personal favorite. But while you have these bangers, relative to the music, Drake seems to fall into his own Scorpion ways and release a padded album with some standouts for the charts, and also not to mention again the really weird lyricism at times.
Yeah, say that you a lesbian, girl, me too.
Decent to strong for. Literally, why? That's all I gotta say. This album is just full of overcompressed guitars and generic chord progression that never seems to go anywhere or lead the album in a unique direction. And also, just the singing on this album is also questionable at times, where Dan Reynolds just pushes his voice to the limit to the point where it sounds like me singing at one of the concerts I go to. I just found this album, which clocks in at about 42 minutes, it makes it seem like it's almost double that time because of how much agony I had to endure. Not to mention the fake deep pop lyrics and the shitty production that even Travis Barker would vomit on the side of. I just found this album to be like every Imagine Dragons album after Night Visions. Strong one.
Okay, just say you're not ready. Okay, coming in heavy. Okay.
I don't know if I'm just reading this album at a surface level, but if anything, I found this album just kind of confusing. This was my first time listening to a full Baby Keem project, and of course, as we know, he is a Kendrick Lamar protege, so I tried to keep the Kendrick comparisons out of this album, and I did go in with an open mind, hoping I would have another good album to my playlist, and in a way I did. I mean, there are songs like Pink Panties, Scars, Family Ties, and up to
top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning, top of the morning.
But I think what turns me off most about this album is just Keem's delivery. Just to put it bluntly, it's not really appealing to me. Like, I can't really rock with his voice as much as other people might. And even if people want to praise this album and Baby Keem for being unique, that is cool. But even like Kendrick's bars, I wasn't really rocking with. I mean, he definitely was the saving grace of the album a lot of the time. I feel like I could just give this album a little bit more praise, but simply it's just not my thing. Like the Decent 5.
Sometimes I try to act like I don't know right from wrong.
I was never really a fan of the band Camino, except one of their songs I used to rock with a few years ago, called I Spend Too Much Time in My Room. But I did go into this album with a sense of optimism. This album I just think is just kind of, I don't know, generic. Like, there are a lot of pop artists who like to utilize acoustic guitars for their music, and I think that works for songs like Sorry Mom, in my opinion the best track on the album. The songwriting is also supreme on Sorry Mom and a couple of other tracks that I can't really remember of because Sorry Mom is the only one that I really got out of it. But there isn't anything really hidden or anything below the iceberg for this album. It's just a very simple pop rock / indie record. Strong 3. I give country one chance this month with the long-awaited project from singer-songwriter Casey Musgraves, and the album was shit. I feel as if Casey's songwriting is very troublesome and just kind of, I don't know, possessive, especially on the song Good Wife, but I just can't get over how bad the genre fusions are on this project. And it seems like the album was just not fully mastered at all. I mean, songs on the second leg of the album just have so many production flaws that stick out like a sore thumb, such as the synths and the instrumentals being louder than her vocals, or sometimes the instrumental just doesn't even match her vocals, especially on the cover song Gracias a la Vida, where she's really close to clipping the microphone and it's just grating to listen to. Overall, this album was just, to put it lightly, it was a mistake. Strong 2. I recently saw Idola in Philly with Dance Gavin Dance, and honestly, they are definitely a concert you have to experience. Idola simply just has such dynamic vocals, which can go to soothing, beautiful melodies to gut-wrenching vocal fries, and the album was actually great to hear live. If anyone would like to hear the full set list from that concert, I do have it down in the description as a Spotify playlist. But unfortunately, I feel as if this album could have had a little bit more substance to it. Don't get me wrong, the vocals, amazing. The instrumentals, definitely very gentle and beautiful to hear. And even the melodies collide together in a fascinating way. But what I had a problem with is that some of the songs just seem to drag, and they are just a little too long. Like, yes, I do understand that it's progressive metal, but you have to be constantly moving the track forward in that sense. But realistically, I think that this album was definitely a good listen. I just was a little bit let down because I was expecting their best songs like the ones that they played at the concert. Also, shout out for John Mess's feature. Decent to strong 6. This album pleasantly surprised me. I mean, let's be honest, we all saw Lil Nas X as a one-hit wonder, but for real, Montero is what cements Lil Nas's place in the rap game. Oh, he's a pop artist? Montero is what cements Lil Nas's place in the pop rap game. I mean, of course, since this is a first studio album, it's not perfect. It does have some throwaway tracks, but the best part is the range that Nas possesses, and just how diverse he actually is, and how well he can bounce off of his features. I mean, just look at the feature. Industry Baby is such a catchy track that I've had on repeat listening to it. Scoop is definitely a throwaway, so let's not mention that one. One of Me has Elton John on the piano, and his vocals are a lot better than I expected. Not to mention the hilarious Uber Eats commercials that we got from this track.
I'll be eating a club sandwich with fries and a side of mayonnaise.
Fuck no, baby! Mayonnaise?
Megan Thee Stallion and Lil Nas X's chemistry is a lot more comprehensive than I thought, and Miley Cyrus. But this project is 15 tracks and I liked half of them. But I think that Lil Nas released a project that everyone thought would suck, but it's definitely a lot better than what we thought it would be. Strong 6 to a light 7. I don't have any footage, but about 2 years ago I saw these guys live with Sum 41 and I wasn't really rocking with their music, especially their newest project at the time, Disposed. I just found that the singing was a little too like generic and the instrumentals were just lacking compared to the other post-hardcore albums that came out during the time. They have exponentially roped me in with this new project. At first I was not liking it but as it was progressing really slowly, the wait was definitely worth it, as the singing all throughout is very emotion-filled and the tones of the different tracks also vary, but they never seem to throw off the vibe of the album, as some are more lighthearted while others are just pure anger and just hurt. I usually like a lot of post-hardcore, and I'm glad to add another new project to my playlist. Like the decent 7. This album has been long awaited in my opinion, as Courtney LaPlante left I Wrestled a Bear Once in late 2015. She then revealed her new band Spiritbox about a year later, and after hearing Holy Roller, which is also on this project, and I will say that I am genuinely happy with what we got. Courtney LaPlante's vocals are phenomenal, the instrumentals that gent fucking hard are some of my favorite parts of the album, and simply, it's just a badass metal album. If you want to open your metal knowledge, I would listen to this project, as they blend metalcore, post-metal, gent, and progressive metal into one hell of a scary yet still so melodic album. Strong 7 to light 8. I used to listen to a lot of Kanye when he featured on Denzel Curry's Taboo, and I was expecting him to drop a badass project, but damn did he let me down. For some reason, the album starts with Corey Taylor introducing it, and I was expecting something heavy, but what I just got was generic guitar riffs and chords on the instrumentals for about 35 minutes. And the only good side to this project is his attempts at a Little Peep track on Black Cats and Hello. You can't tell me that it doesn't sound like something off of Come Over When You're Sober. And the features from Lil Uzi and Denzel Curry were definitely pretty fire, but the funniest part is his singing. Like, it's just hilariously off-pitch most of the time, and I just don't even know how to express my disappointment for this project. Decent to strong 3. I had no clue who these guys were, but I gave it a try and I gave it a listen, and honestly I was pretty torn on this project. Like, the lyrics have a lot of personality behind them, and the songwriting and storytelling are actually very, well, I would say eye-catching, but you know, ear-catching, touching on subjects like lost love, suicide, sexual assault, and adultery. Not to mention the vocals are just hypnotizing. Like on the tracks like She Knows, Tethered, Family, stellar storytelling like My Funeral, and once again, Tethered. It's genuinely a compelling narrative on each of the tracks. They all seem like chapters in an anthology, and it's simply just a really pleasant listen. And I suggest adding Badflower's This Is How the World Ends to your cry playlist. Decent to strong 7.
Saying that everything is alright, I swear. All alone in the dark space, ain't no light in there.
These Things Happen 1, except it's way more cornier lyrics than any G-Eazy album ever released. This man just needs to stop. Decent 2. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest NBA Youngboy fan. I feel as if since this man released 6 albums in the span of a year last year, I always assumed that he does not have much to offer with his songs because they are just simply too many. But I sat down and I actually gave this album a listen, and I'll admit, this is the most I've liked a Youngboy album in years. But simply because I think his melodic rap style is a little bit more on point in this project, but I want to bring up the fact that this album should have had features, and I will keep that argument. Throw Kevin Gates, Gunna, Young Thug, Lil Baby, Snoop Dogg. You've done it before. Why not just add some flavor to the less produced song and let the feature carry it? One of Youngboy's better projects he's released, and let's just hope he can learn some more versatility in the future. Strong 5 to a light 6. Fun fact, the first review I ever did on this channel was Poppy's album I Disagree. And surprisingly, ever since I have been a fan of Poppy, and she's definitely proved herself as a rock artist with I Disagree, and on this album she seems to move towards like a alt-metal, alt-rock direction, and I was all for it. Poppy screaming her vocals on Lessen the Damage, which was dope as hell, the very catchy pop rock track So Mean, and just the solid vibe that Never Find My Place and Bloom give off. Other than that, I like 66% of this album, and that was my problem. I felt like the project was just too short and it could have been capitalized more on. I mean, you know, 6 out of 9 tracks and only 32 minutes I liked. I would have even gave it a higher score if there were a few more solid tracks, but musically I enjoyed it a lot and it's a solid listen. Like the decent 7.